So we have our first trade of the season. The Penguins have traded away Sam Lafferty to the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for former top 10 pick Alex Nylander. For me, this caught me so off guard. I didn't expect no Sam Lafferty for Alex Nylander trade to happen anytime soon. Anyways, let's get straight to it. I absolutely love the trade. I mean, Sam Lafferty isn't a terrible player. He's not great. I personally wouldn't want him in my top 12 forward. He's an okay 13th guy. Like, you have an injury, you need to put him in. He's okay. He's a serviceable fourth line. But at 26 years old, there's no potential there. He's pretty much capped off as a fourth liner. And at 26 years of age, that potential isn't really going to change. And you pretty much flip him for a guy with all the world of potential. I mean, like I said earlier, Alex Nylander is a former top 10 pick, obviously looking a lot like a bust right now, but he's only 23 years old. The potential's still in there. And if there's one team that's the best at this, it's the Penguins at finding players' potential. In just the Crosby-Malkin era, they've done it a number of times. They just keep on doing it. Now, there is a good chance they turn him around, turn him into a solid NHL player, but there's also a chance where they don't, and he's actually a bust. If he is a bust, who cares? It doesn't matter. All you give up is a 13th forward, at best fourth liner who's 26 years old. If you wanted to give up Lafferty, I think the best you can get is like a 6th, 7th round pick. Like, who's really trading for Lafferty? And the fact that you get here a player with this much potential, this is a W for me. Ron Hextall, this is a win. You can't really lose in a trade like this because the worst you get out of this is just giving away Lafferty for nothing. And that's not the worst thing. The one thing that Jim Rutherford was so good at was these one-for-one type, meaningless trades at the time. And then somewhere down the line, it turned to be a steal, right? Jim Rutherford pretty much built the back-to-back championship teams off trades like this. Alex Nylander, I'm not ready to give up on. I don't think he's a bust yet. I mean, as of right now, he is. He's classified as a bust. The one negative thing I will say about Alex Nylander and why maybe I don't think it will work out, if it doesn't work out, is because we might have another Daniel Sprong situation on our hands right now. Daniel Sprong was supposed to be this next big thing for the Penguins, right? Like a 25 goal scorer. I was saying he was going to be 30 goals just off that shot alone. He had all the offensive talent, right? All the offensive potential, but his defensive game was absolute trash. So bad that Mike Sullivan didn't care for his offense that he would just not play him. We all wanted to see him in the top 6. He got those glimpses of top 6 time, but it would be maybe a couple shifts before Mike Sullivan would not only put him back to the fourth line, but just flat out bench him. For me, this reminds me of that, right? Alex Nylander, all the offensive, potential, but the defense is weak. So, this is a project. You have to work on it. He won't come into the NHL next week and just light it up. I think you need to take it slow. But whatever it is, you want to make sure he's ready when he does get that NHL call, whether it's this year, next year. He's going to play for the Penguins at one point. And when he does get that call up to play in the NHL, you want to make sure he's ready, confident, just ready to go. Because I don't think Alex Nylander, being 23, has that many more chances in him. He comes up for the Penguins and is a bust. Penguins send him back down to the AHL. That might be it for his career. And, looking at the bigger picture, this might be a trade for next year because there's a good chance you lose Brian Rust for nothing. He might want a little bit too much money. He's a little bit up there in the age. You let him go. You replace him essentially with Evan Rodrigues, who's having a career year. You take the Brian Rust contract currently, the 3.5, give it to Rodrigues. Now all of a sudden, because essentially Rodrigues has replaced Rust when Rust was out. You have Rodrigues as your new Rust. And all of a sudden you need a new top 9, middle 6 scoring forward. Alex Nylander could be your guy. A lot of ifs with that, but, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe come next year training camp, he's fighting for a middle 6, maybe second line spot. Probably not going to start off on the second line, but he can work his way up because his game, for me, the way he plays is the perfect winger for Evgeny Malkin. And again, he is a former top 10 pick. He doesn't need to be a top 10 pick for the Penguins. If he could just be a serviceable, even bottom 6 secondary scoring option, for me, that's a good trade because Sam Lafferty is all you gave up in this trade. You're not overpaying. You're not giving up draft picks. The only way the Penguins don't win this trade is if Nylander doesn't play in the NHL for them. I don't think there's really a losing option. The only way they could lose this trade is if Sam Lafferty somehow turns it around and is a solid player for the Hawks, but I doubt it. I do think he could provide something for a team's fourth line. I just didn't like what he provided for the Penguins. I just think Sam Lafferty is getting lower and lower on the depth chart. Just so many guys are passing him. So I think getting rid of him and actually getting a player that you can turn around, he's essentially a project, Alex Nylander. If the Penguins do this the right way, they can find themselves a future top 6 20 goal scorer, 50-point guy at best, and at worst, a guy who you could stick in your bottom six and you can provide you those 10, 15 goals, secondary power play time, if there's injuries, which we know there will be. That's if you develop him the right way, right? You want to build up his confidence down there in the AHL. He's had a really rough start to his young career so far in the NHL and in the AHL. Those crazy expectations of being a top 10 pick, first line stud are gone. You don't need to be that. When you get traded for this little, a little 1-for-1, it's essentially you need a brand new start. You need a fresh start. And I think Pittsburgh could do that for Alex Nylander. I think the Penguins have a great developing team. They're going to handle him well in the AHL. And when he does get that call up, I believe he'll be ready. That's honestly up to him. When he does get that call, it's up to him to take it, take the ball and run with it. Because there's only so much you can do for a player, develop, teach, coach, gain his confidence. But at one point, you're going to need the player to just take off, right? And if Alex Nylander doesn't have that in him, he doesn't have it in him. But if he does, the Penguins will provide him with the tools. Overall, great trade. I mean, low risk, high reward. You're really not losing in this trade. And again, you just need to find that potential because it's definitely in there. This guy has the offensive potential and you pretty much got it for nothing. I absolutely love that trade. I do want to hear what you guys have to say though. I know there will be some fans that do like Lafferty's game. If you like Lafferty's game, I want to hear why and if you like this trade. Because yes, Lafferty could be a serviceable fourth liner, but to give up on him to try and hit on a guy like Nylander, you got to do it 10 out of 10 times. But that's it. Tell me what you guys think about the trade. If you guys are like me and love it, maybe you're feeling 50-50 about it, or maybe you guys hate it because you like Lafferty's game. I'd love to hear all that in the comments. And thank you so much for watching.